And good morning, everyone. We are live. We are back here. I'll step in front of the camera and say good morning and thank you to everybody who's been watching in the morning sessions and everyone who's watched my videos. Appreciate that. I've started a little further up the point today, and I want you to see, I don't know if you can see it actually, but it's pretty windy this morning, but it's not onshore. It's like a side, I was gonna say a side off, but it's just like a straight side shore. I see Leo paddling out. I know Jack is out there because I just talked to his filmer, and everyone's asking me the same question about what happened with Jack and the local. Dude, it might rain right now. It's been raining off and on this morning. That's why I'm a little late to the broadcast. I see Gabriella Bryan, it looks like. I know that Yolanda's out because I saw her coach, and she's always out at dark. And that is setting up to be a really great heat. Gabriella Bryan and Yolanda Hopkins. Who is that? That is Lakey paddling out. So everyone's getting out, and you can see, man, it's still pretty dark. It's nearly 5 or maybe 5 in the morning, and one of the things that's going to happen is they're supposed to make the call at 5:45 for a potential 6 a.m. start. I think they wanted to get here early before this wind starts, but they may be late to that. But I don't know if you can feel it see it, but it's definitely windy. It's about 20 miles an hour side shore. And hey, I'm gonna go behind the camera now and kind of sweep around, have a look, and see if we can watch some of the pros ride waves. There's a little bit of a sprinkle. If it starts raining harder, I'm right next to the grandstands. I'm gonna go up into the grandstands and go from there. But and you'll probably be able to see the wind's kind of side off. Vano, how are you?
Good, how's things?
Good. I'm on a live show, sorry.
All right, no worries. Keep on going.
It's sort of side off, right?
Yeah, it's blowing offshore. It's touch offshore, so it's up the face a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's definitely dropped in size. The swell, but we're just going to go up and check
Yeah.
side on to check and see how big it actually is.
Yeah, good, man.
Before we decide on what boards to take out if they decide to run.
What do you think? 50-50 on the run here? I saw a couple good ones.
If it's clean base, I can't see why they wouldn't run it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, see you, brother. So that's one of the first heats, not that particular person. That is Joel Vaughn's dad, who's going to have a look at the top of the point and I guess closer inspection so that they know which boards. I don't know if you could hear any of that. It is starting to rain. I see photographers going up in the grandstands. I'm going to go up there with them just to get some cover. And by the way, buenos dias, good morning, everyone. Just getting in front of the camera today. Whew. The gnarliest of, how do you spell it? H-U-M-E.
N-O.
N-O. H-U-M.
H-U-M-A-N-O.
A-N-O. Humano.
Humano.
Humano is a gnarly photographer, water photographer. Follow him, everybody, on Instagram. Check it out. Good to see you, man. How are you?
Good. Checking out the swell.
It's
kinda like-
what do you think about the swell?
Well, it's supposed to be bigger and better, but it's the opposite. I think it's that storm over there, it's just flattening everything out. It's just, I don't know, just wait.
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know if it's going to happen today. What do you think?
I'm same as you, 50-50. Let's wait and see. It is smaller, by the way, everyone. I noticed it's smaller, and it's pretty windy. It's way windier than anything we saw yesterday.
And it's supposed to be bigger.
It's supposed to be bigger, but
Yeah.
surf lice again. Have a good session, bro.
Thank you.
Hey, Now the rain's stopped again, so who the heck knows what's going on. The storm he's talking about, you know what, I'm going to get behind the camera and turn it around and do all the things. I see some comments. Let's focus on the comments a little bit. Do you think they'll run? A lot of people asking, yo, good morning, Martin Evans. Welcome from London, England. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Let's watch this wave. This is the first one I've seen that's decent. And you can see, like, I think, I can't tell. I thought that might be Jack, but let's just watch this all the way through. All right, you can see what we're dealing with here. I think I'm losing my voice. Hey. You can see it's like, I think Jovan's dad asked the right question, like, is the face clean? I think that's the determining factor, you know? Here's the photographer we're talking to, and this is the storm he's talking about. Look at that bad boy. So I think it might be local winds. Probably a lot of people are just now tuning in and asking, hey, is it on? Not sure. I'm giving it a 50-50, a maybe, a solid maybe, because it's pretty windblown. And we just talked to one of the water photographers, and he was saying, you know, it's supposed to be bigger, but it's not. It's actually smaller. Here's another wave. Let's go in a little closer. And sorry, I missed a little top piece, but I mean, definitely rideable. It just depends on how desperate they may be. Oh, somebody just did a nice little air, and it's hard to tell even for me who it is, let alone you guys watching on a friggin' cell phone. I'm going to talk about shaky days. I'm going to talk about Jack in a minute. I don't have a lot of intel, as you actually I do, but hang on, let me get this back. The damn music is starting. Maybe that's a go sign. All right, let me read some of these comments. So again, do I think they'll run? 50-50 on it. It looks like evil easterlies. It's a side shore, side off sort of sitch. So what happened with the local and Jack? I don't know a lot, but I do know this. I just talked to his photographer. And remember, with all situations involving drop-ins, just like in one of my videos, you never know the backstory. Did the local drop in on Jack before that event happened? I believe so. At least that's the story I'm hearing. There could have been paddle arounds and things like that. But Jack kind of took the high road, and apparently he tried to talk to the guy wasn't having it. And you don't know what other politics, if there's like another guy in the water that's a friend of the local, that's a pro, that's like perhaps strategizing to give the other guy more waves or the other girl more waves. I mean, I'm not getting the full story there, and I'm trying, but I think Jack's classy, and he's, you know, not saying much as he does, and basically said, yeah, it was an incident, we regret it, and we're moving on. And, you know, so that's what I know. I wish I had more. Here, let's all have a WSL happy hug and look at the pink skies, and everything's okay. Sorry, that was the lamest reporting that I got, but that's what I could get so far from that situation. We have a lot to talk about from yesterday. Let me dig in a moment. Aloha. No. Yeah, everyone asking about Jack. I just talked about Jack, and I'll HH bonus. What is that? I just talked about Jack. I'll run through it real quickly. I talked to his photographer. I believe the local probably dropped in on Jack prior to all that happening, and there's some other things going on, but Jack just kind of like tried to sort it out, tried to talk to the guy, and in the end, like, he just said, you know what, I'm gonna go in. The guy's telling me to go in. I don't want to have a beef, and he paddled in. So shooting your board at someone is not cool. Never cool. Never shoot your board at anyone. It's surfing and they're trying to have fun. And that was not cool. If you saw the clip, everyone's seen the clip, do not shoot your board at anyone, you know? Not the right call. All right, let's look at my notes, dude. I've probably got to jump off when they start to make the call. Locals in the wrong purely for kicking his board. Yeah, it's shaky days, exactly. That shit's never okay, exactly. Looks like it may be off. So I like what Built On said as far as like, there's plenty of surf. There's plenty of surf in the future, and you know, that stuff's forecast again like a week away. Like, there's major tropical storm activity that appears to be, it keeps getting delayed, which pushes the potential onshore winds and the stormy conditions further into the waiting period on the other side. So they may be thinking, hey, if there's surf, let's get it while we can, especially if it's clean on the face. You know, there's a potential they could run here. But I'm 50-50 on it. Let's see what they decide to do. And they may wing it and say, nah, let's wait. So, again, hey everyone, thanks for joining. I'm gonna just run through real quickly some of the potential upcoming heats. What they're gonna do is they're gonna run the rest of the men's, is what I understand. And those remaining heats, wait a minute, let's watch this wave. This looks, well, that was, I believe that was Gabrielle O'Brien. Tell you what, as people take off, yeah, it looks unsurfable. Shaky days, dude. Now that I run through that whole thing, saying they may run, I just saw that last wave. It's getting worse since I've got here. Been here since pretty much dark, and does look to be getting worse. All right, let's watch this one. So here's a takeoff. We've got a face that is pretty torn up, but dude, the pros make it look so easy. You can see the texture, and we're on the inside, and somehow, I'm trying to find out who that is, somehow made a score out of an extremely rough situation right there. So they might run some heats. Did you see that lightning? So if there's lightning, that's definitely a sign that they're not going to run heats. Here's another wave. Try to get in, no one there. So anyway, here's the heats that will run if they decide to call it on. We start with Sammy and Joel Vaughn. This looks to be Baron Mamiya right here. Let's see what Baron does with this. Damn, dude. Just fully making lemonade out of this thing. Yeah. Polishing a turd is the metaphor I've got. So anyway, here's the heats. Sammy versus Sammy Pupo, Joel Vaughn. Leo versus Mateus. That's an interesting one. And I did see Leo paddle out about 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. Idolo and Ramsey. And I don't know, man. Like, is Elo gonna show up here with his 8 stitches and surfing this? I mean, yeah, he probably would if the call was on. That's Lakey. That's Lakey grinding her way. Wait, is it? I'm sorry. Is it? Yes, that was Lakey. Rest of the heats: Elo versus Ramsey, Crosby Colapinto versus Morgan Ciblick. I would hate to see that heat, which is so good, be running these conditions. But hey, let's see what the pros can do with it. Next one, Felipe Toledo and Cowley Vost. I love that heat. I picked Felipe, but I can tell you right now, like, whoa, that was Jack Robinson. Uh-oh, it's starting to rain hard. Moving in. Yo, moving in. Yeah, I'm just running undercover, guys. Hang on. Permiso. Sorry. Okay. Damn, dude. So we've just moved into the grandstands and I'm still feeling the rain. Let's see if I can set up here. Hang on. So about the only spot I could get is right here behind Leo's photographer. And you can see, man, it is pissing rain. Like, there's Joel Vaughn running. Like, he was checking it. There's Morgan. No, sorry, Crosby. I just saw Morgan paddle out. And here's what we're looking at. Dude, it is nuts. It's raining so hard. That's Morgan on an inside runner. I can't believe how well they're surfing these waves. It's pretty crazy. I know there's a guy's head in the shot, but all the photographers are in here and we're all trying to get out of the rain. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it is. Here, let me give you that'll give you an idea. That thing came out of nowhere. So, I mean, the rain's never stopped any surfing from going on. Sounds like they're going to make a call here. And it could... Oh, I'm glad you guys can hear the rain. It is pretty cool.
Good morning and welcome to the second day of the competition. This is Surf CD and Satellite represented by...
They're going to make a call, maybe, right here?
This information is for all the competitors and free surfers. The event is on hold and we're going to make our next call at 6:45 for a possible 7:05 a.m. start.
Okay, so...
For information at that time. For now, keep surfing.
I don't know if you guys heard that or what's going on, but... They just put the event on hold for an hour. So it looks like they're still thinking about it. And I could see them waiting for this squall, this storm to clear. And then they could call it on. I may go offline. No, I'm gonna hang for a few minutes. We just watch the ocean in the rain. I'm sitting in the grandstands, by the way. Let me go wide. I'll read a few comments too. Sorry I haven't been doing that. Just a lot of action here. Let me go wide and I'll show you. So we're on the grandstands. I'm gonna come around. So saw the photographers for and then all of a sudden, did you hear that? The filmers are like, God, the moment we put it on hold, it starts pumping. Look at this set. It's actually lumpy now. Like, just since that rain cleared, it's still lumpy, but all of a sudden the faces are clean. That's crazy. The unpredictable Central American weather. And I don't know if you can see it. Somebody just missed that second section. So let's read some of these comments. So many here. Let me back up. Everyone's asking if it's on. They have put it on hold for an hour. We're about to find out. Ethan didn't get a wave. Dude, we didn't talk about that yet. Ethan, there was a couple of upsets yesterday, and the biggest of which is Ethan Ewing. And, you know, as I watched that unfold, I thought, this is what Ethan does. He waits, he gets, you know, sometimes he'll get 3 waves in a heat and still win because he gets the 3 best waves. Well, he waited too long, and there were some heats yesterday that were super inconsistent and some that just pumped. And, you know, that kind of thing happens. The same thing was to the detriment of Steph Gilmore. But Ethan sat for 20 minutes. And, dude, you can't leave a guy, I hate to, dude, this is such a WSL narrative with a blue-collar Aussie, you know, a hardworking guy. You leave him alone, and he's just going to stack up little scores, and next thing you know, he's ahead, no time left, and Ethan's desperate, and that's what happened. Tell me what you think. Should Ethan have stayed inside? I think Ethan might have been too far out too, you know. The other, I don't consider this an upset, but the fact that Eli came to life and did that punt in Brian Perez's heat was crazy, man. And then he went on to beat Miguel Pupa, who I was really pushing as a solid surfer in this event. And he's out. Second round, first heat, boom, gone. Steph Gilmore out. Tell me who you lost in your fantasy team. Ethan Ewing's probably the biggest upset. Let's see what this says. Shaky days. Ethan losing to Calum at Pumping Hill Sal was not on my bingo card. Dude, it was on nobody's bingo card. Have you tried to surf the spot? What is it like? You know what, dude? I have not. I just talk smack. I've surfed a lot of ways around it, but every time I've been here, it's been the event and there's 40 pros out, and I haven't. But I have talked to a lot of people who have, and I wish I had. Most of the waves on tour, I've had the actual experience, and I have to be honest that I do not have that here. At some point, I need to paddle out just to experience it and walk on the rocks and do all the things. So, Luis Felipe, is it on? We do not know, but they have put the event on hold. If you have not heard, the event is on hold for the next hour. They're going to make another call in an hour for a possible, now the time's for possible 6 a.m. start? Is that what it is? 5:45? No, 6:45 for a possible 7 a.m. start. So that's where they're at. Ethan just doesn't have that competitive dog in him, never has. Damn, that's pretty harsh. I wonder about that. Does he have the competitive drive? I think he does, but certainly the argument could be made based on some of the results, and especially when you get to something like a finals at Trestles against Felipe, where you could argue perhaps he was underscored, but could some of that competitive drive shown up then? I don't know. I thought he was fighting that day. I don't know why I point to that as the record of choice here. That's Morgan, by the way, on that inside runner, making it look pretty decent. I know it's super wide and far away. Let me go in tighter. Sorry about that. All right, back out we go. Let's read some more of these comments. B tier for high performance wave. Surely they can wait till better forecast. Think I agree with that, but the forecast to me is starting to get dodgy the longer we wait. I almost wish the onshore winds had hit had we gotten through it already, but now it just seems to be dragging on, and the forecast keeps pushing and pushing and pushing that, hey, we're going to have onshores for this many days. Next thing you know, we're going to be like Ethan Ewing waiting for a wave. We could be sitting here at the end after, 4 or 5 days of onshores, 3 or 4 days of onshores, and next thing you know, it's the end of the waiting period and we're desperate for some good waves. So I don't like the way it's setting up, if I was to be honest about it. But at the same time, we've seen what El Sal can do, especially in those clips, in those surf edits, in those videos that we've seen over the past week. Man, it was absolutely cooking. There's a little wave. You can see like it's sectiony, it's not holding up, and judges were looking for multiple maneuvers and flow yesterday, and that's just not going to happen today. What's going to happen today is like 2 hits, man, from what I'm looking at. I've seen maybe 1 or 2 people get more than that this morning, so not a whole lot happening in that regard. Let's see what else we got here. Thanks for insight. Mother Nature been brutal to the WSL. It has been a little bit. J-Bay pumping right now. Dude, if I do a live stream and nobody says J-Bay is pumping, it won't be a live stream. It seems like J-Bay's been pumping every time. And yeah, they cut that off the schedule and J-Bay has a banner year. It's too bad. I love that wave. There's a lot of South Africans here that wish it was on tour, even though they call this the quote-unquote Latin American J-Bay. It's they're different waves, different experience as well. So let's see what else we got. When is this going to have epic conditions? Maybe they're going to have epic conditions at Pipeline. Shame Jordy is out this wave. This is Jordy's wave, dude. I'm not stoked about it. And let's talk about that too. Like yesterday, Matthew McGillivray, who by the way does not surf a lot, he's into so many different things. Hold on, we got Gabrielle O'Brien. Let's watch Gabby's wave here. She's just coming around Tom's head. Oh, she kicked out, dude. We totally missed it. Man, that was like a swell window. Here's Jack paddling out right here, and then here's our sunrise happening. Thanks everyone for joining. I'm sitting in the bleachers, in the fan zone bleachers, because we just had a rain squall. And what we've been looking at all morning are changing conditions. It's been windy, it's been textured pretty much the whole morning, but it seems to me the wave faces are a lot cleaner now than it was just a few minutes ago. Let me back this off. I'm trying to read the comments, but if you like, get into the comments. Here's Crosby. Tell me who you have, Crosby or Morgan. I see that as being one of the premier heats in round 2. Like, that matchup, even though it's like middle of the pack in the rankings, that matchup is 2 solid surfers that I think will go blow for blow if the waves provide. I went back and forth when I was trying to make my fantasy picks. Do I want to gear my team around Morgan and the way that the brackets play out, or do I want to gear my team around Crosby? And ultimately, I chose Crosby. I had Morgan at first, but I also picked that with Felipe on my team. Tell me who you guys picked in that matchup, if you even picked them as part of your fantasy. But Felipe has a very difficult heat against Cowley Vost. And the only reason I ended up taking Felipe in the end, here we got Morgan, speak of the devil, boom, off the top. Let's see if he makes this section. I'll go in tighter. Nope, he does not. Is that Morgan? No, I take it back, dude. It's hard to see a little bit. That was Liam. That was Liam. Wow, with a layback. That was, who is this on the inside? Wow, that was pretty sick. I think that was Joao. Anyway, it looks like the rain is cleared. I may go back on the beach. Kind of quietly talking around a ton of people in here. It's awkward with all my photog friends doing the creator live stream thing. You know, it's really cleaned up. The faces have cleaned up. The weather's kind of settled. We had that big storm off the coast, and it looks like it's cleaned up. I see now Gabriel Medina and Cowley Vost paddling out. So that's potential for... There they are there. That might be a hint at, hey, this thing could go. Let's get back out to the waves. Tell you what, I'm going to read a few more comments. Oh, there's Yo. There's a test buzzer. So that was just Yolanda just surfed by, and she had Aaron Brooks in her heat, and I found out in the final moments that Aaron Brooks actually was pretty sick, had an IV going, was dehydrated, I think had a hospital visit, and she was like not herself. And the waves they had in that heat, Yolanda and Aaron, were pretty terrible, very lully, like a lot of heats were. But so Yolanda made it through, and she'll be facing Gabriella Bryan, which is an interesting matchup. And with all the upsets, that could be one. There's Molly, if you can see that inside runner. And she doesn't make the end section. Let's see what this does. Here's another insider. Here we go on the outside. Somebody attempted an air. Hey, you know what? I'm getting blocked. I'm going to go ahead and go back out on the beach. I'm going to move the camera and read some more comments. By the way, good morning, everyone. If you're just joining us, thanks for joining. We are on hold for probably another 45 minutes. We're going to make the call. And when I first got here, I was 50-50 on it. But now it looks like the wave faces have gotten cleaner. Am I cool? And it looks to me like they could run, dude. You know what I might do? I might go further. I'm going to go further. Am I going to go further up the point? No, I'm going to hang down in here. I'm going to get a closer look. I'm going to stay on the wave itself. Look at this set. Wow. So that looks pretty insane, actually. That, you know, when I first got here, I was like, oh, it's definitely smaller. That's the first set I've seen that has a little more bulk to it. Here, let's walk down. I'm gonna come down to the end. Whoa, tide's coming up. I'm gonna come right in here. Oh, dang, the music. ¿Está bien? Okay. Yeah, I don't want to block any photogs. All right. All right, cool. So we got to wave out the back. Let me see what's going on in the comments. Storm surge for sure. When's the high tide? Is it high now? It's pretty high now. I think it might even give us a little more. I think somebody's representing from Hawaii right there. There's a lot of comments. Good morning. Dude, always love when the Florida crew is in, especially my local New Smyrna Beach. All right, here we go. Let's watch this. That, Freddie, that looks like Tyler Wright. Here comes another storm surge. Tyler served a pretty decent heat yesterday. Here's a day in the life. I'm trying to make the frame smaller. Here's our boy Freddie getting ready. Hold on, let's go talk to him. Freddie, tell me what happened. Tell me about the waves right now. You're going out. Why? Did it clean up?
I think so. Huh? It's so clean. Looks good, huh?
Looks
It's
better
not so
than
bad.
this morning.
Yeah. I don't know what happened because the wave check, like yes, I just checked the surf line yesterday and looks for today like I'd say today bigger than yesterday. You know, I'm not happy with the waves, but it's not so bad. I think it's a really good conditions to the airs. You know, some good maneuver. I think here's always good. You know, with the best guys in the world. I think here is never gonna be like a really bad. You know. I think the guys really enjoy these conditions too, you know?
If you were to say, is it on or is it off?
I think it's on.
I do too.
Because the next day is gonna rain a lot, so I think some storms coming for the next days, and I think the guys need to start the contest, you know, because here in the Central America, I think we never know what's gonna happen with the weather, you know, because have two influence. The influence of the Caribbean Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, you know, and everything can happen here, you know. For me, that's my opinion, you know.
Yeah.
And if you have waves, you know, the contest needs to start, you know.
By the way, no sets have come because Freddie's analysis is happening and the ocean has like stopped so Freddie can talk and give us that insight. I did like too that you talked about the air wind. It feels like a bit of an air wind, but now the wind has really died down, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, what camera, for the photo nerds out there, what camera lens do you have for your port? What's inside your camera port?
For me, now it's 50. I prefer to stay really close of the guys, you know. I love a 50, you know.
Did you guys get that? There's not a 2870, it's a 50 millimeter lens. Freddie's going hard.
That's my favorite lens. There's American conditions, you know?
Yeah, thank you, dude. So there you go. We get the insight from the water photographer. Let's go back out to the surf. And if we get any surfers coming by, I'll try to talk to them, but a lot of them are preparing for the heat. Let's see what else we got. Up late, dude, up late on the Gold Coast. What a legend, man. Hey, brother. How are you, bro? Yeah, those of you in Australia, this time, it's got to be rough, man. Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be delayed at least, you know, another half hour or something like that. In the mountains in Victoria. Welcome from Australia, by the way. Looks stormy, but I'll tell you what, man. If you're just now popping into the stream, I can tell you, what up, Alex? I can tell you that it's actually cleaned up. The wind's dropped off a bit, and the waves actually look better. The faces are cleaner. I am leaning towards their running. I just talked to that water photographer right there, and I get transmission unstable due to weak network connection. That sucks. Hey, if I lose you guys, my apologies. Men or women's to start, do I think? I think it'll definitely be men's, and we were talking about the men's earlier, which heats are coming up. The very first one out of the gates is a really great heat, and it's two air guys. I was talking earlier with Freddie about air wind, but the wind's just really dropped off. But two air guys are Joel Vaughn and Sammy Pupo. That's the first heat featured, which is finishing off the men's second round. I could see that's a direction they would want to go. That would be followed by Leo Ferravante and Mateus Herde, and then we get to see if Idolo's going to show up. I'm more than certain he will. I shouldn't say certain. Pretty sure he'll show up, and that will be a good heat because he's going up against Ramsey, and Ramsey got his first win yesterday. An interview coming. I talked to him after it, and then we get into a heat I was talking about earlier was Crosby and Morgan Siblick, Felipe Toledo, Cali Vost, great heat there. George Pitard, Joao Chianca. God, I mean, these matchups just keep coming. Gabriel Medina, Seth Moniz, Jack Robinson, Cole Houshman. I love that heat. Conor O'Leary, Baron Mamiya, and then finally, to end round two, I think the heat everyone wants to see, because there's fantasy implications here if you pick Griffin, is Griffin Colapinto and Cole Houshman. Are you kidding me? Man, that should be great. Depends on the conditions. If there's air stuff going on, that could favor Griff, but Al can get in the air. There's Conor O'Leary now and Betty Lou. And a beautiful sunrise. And you can see, man, like higher tide, it's a little easier on the rock dance because it just kind of drops off. So you can kind of just jump right in. On low tide, it's a disaster. It's so difficult. While there's no sets, we'll see how Connor approaches it. There's a slight drizzle. I'm getting a little bit rained on, but it's not like the torrential downpour we had earlier. Yeah, as soon as this comes, I think Connor will probably jump right in. Let's move back around. Let's look at the point. Oh, as soon as I turned, he jumped in. That's funny. And so after the men's, and they may flip this, they may do exactly the opposite of what I think and go with the women's. So I think it'll be after the men's. Here's the following women's heats. Gabrielle O'Brien and Yolanda Hopkins. Sawyer and Anat, 2 goofy footers. Luana Silva and Nadia Aristabe. I can tell you right now, that's a great heat. Nadia looked pretty good yesterday against Kika. Carissa. Oh man, that's a good heat. Carissa and Brisa. Brisa seems to have found her rail game just when she needed it. Got her first win yesterday. Then we get into a classic Aussie battle. Old school, new school. Molly versus Sally. Dude, by the way, I interviewed Sally yesterday. What an absolute legend. And like a really cool, well-spoken person she is. Like, God, I'm such a fan of Sally's. So that interview is coming as well. Then we get Betty Lou, Sakura Johnson, and Caroline Marks. I wanted to pick Betty Lou on my team, on my fantasy team, but I did not. I think that might have been a mistake. I ended up going a different direction in the bracket strategy and choosing I thought I got cut off. I guess the stream's still going. I thought I got cut off. Anyway, final one is Lakey Tyler and Katie and Bella. And Bella Kenworthy also got her first win yesterday. So a lot of people getting their first win. The only person that didn't, man, and I feel for this guy, is Oscar Berry. Dude, the poor guy cannot get a break. I think I talked about this yesterday. Dude had he was sick. He got a bee sting. Like nothing's going his way. The transmission is unstable. It's saying, I'm going to try to get to a better area. There's Gabrielle O'Brien getting a wave there. I'm going to try to get to a better area. It's a lot of local weather. I don't know what is happening as far as affecting the signal here. That's Lakey, by the way. Let's go back in tighter on Lakey. Right when I do, she kicks out. Small kind. Yesterday was a day full of upsets, so many upsets, and I actually made a bad assumption. I assumed I actually got called out by a couple of you on the YouTube comments. Like, wait, dude, why are you saying that heat's gonna happen when they haven't even won yet? And you were right. That's Susie, I know, called me out on that. Let's walk back a little bit. Dude, wait a second. Tony, I have not seen you. Good morning, man. What a run. Dude, let's link up. Tony, I've been looking for you, bro. I don't know where you're hiding out. But yeah, I'm around. I'll be at the event. There's a nice little hook. Inside. And then here we got on the outside. Let's stick with, this looks like Morgan. Dude, I love Morgan surfing. Whack all the way through. Here we're gonna go back outside. This might be, thought that was Crosby. Crosby and Morgan will be doing this same thing in a heat. Yeah, it's starting to rain again. Wow, and the sets are coming in. Look at this. And out the back too. Let's go with the out the back because there's somebody up and riding. I'm getting rained on, but I'm gonna hang out just for a moment while we watch. It looks to be, I want to say that was Jack, but it was not. God, look at this set. That was Jack. No, that wasn't Jack. It's a goofy footer. Who was that? That was Gabriel. Or was it Cowley? Fuck, I don't know, dude. I'm gonna get out of the rain. My backpack's all wet. Let's stay with Molly. Ah. Wow, look at this set out the back. It's Gabriel Medina. Somebody else out the back. All right, I'm gonna get out of the rain. Just one moment, everybody. Gonna set back up. So it's pretty crowded in here with people trying to get out of the rain. So I'm kind of stuck in the corner. So we're gonna miss a piece of the wave here, but you'll get the idea. Let me try to read some of these comments. By the way, Tony, I'm wearing a white shirt. You know what I look like. I know what you look like. Come say hi. Jack is back. Waikiki's 5 to 7 feet today. Dude, I bet Hawaii is pretty good, man. You're about to get more swell, too. Get T-Bone on the phone and sort out the time zone. Dude, I have not talked to T-Bone in a minute. I know he was working, but I do like to get up and down with T-Bone about the latest. That was Mickey, by the way. Mickey, good to see you in here, man. Thanks, dude. If you guys remember, Mickey joined us on the broadcast. He was working the judge's booth at the Margaret River Pro, and Mickey was kind enough to jump in and give us his takes about some of the judging criteria and talk about Margaret River and the conditions. That was pretty epic. I appreciate that. Let's see what else we got. Let's go back in the comments. Face is much cleaner, KDX says, and KDX, you are absolutely right. From the difference, for those of you just joining, the difference between what we saw this morning and what we're seeing now is night and day nearly. I mean, it's much cleaner. The wind's dropped off. The wind was kind of howling side shore, offshore, and super difficult. It's now a lot cleaner. Go on the roof with an umbrella, dude. I need to. Yeah, people getting hung up at the top on some of these. Phototron, welcome, man. Good to see you. Let's go, Gabriella. A lot of people have her on their team, including me. User JB2CK2WN9G. Is Ethan still with Sawyer? Yes. But I think they play it cool because they're both focused on winning. By the way, when Ethan lost, dude, I've never seen somebody get the hell out of Dodge quicker than he did. I mean, he came up the beach after they read that score, and he had his board He had his boards under his arms and like carrying a whole quiver and was gone. Just disappeared. He was not stoked. It had to be frustrating for him to wait that long and not get a decent wave. Let's see what else. 1 p.m. in the UK, gale force onshore raining here. Sorry to hear that, Ashley. That's a different kind of rain, man. Big love from Kangaroo Island. Thank you. Thanks for joining from Kangaroo Island. Men or women to start, do you think? Homie, thanks for joining. I believe it's going to be the men. I think they're going to try to finish up the men's heats, starting with Joel Vaughn, and then 3 heats in will be the Elo Ferreira Ramsey heat. I have not seen Elo, and I would not expect him to surf a warm-up heat with the stitches in his knee, but I do expect him to show up. Let's see what happens. Gonna keep going back to these comments. Thanks everybody. If you want to jump in the comments, I love it. I'd love to read them. Weather been nonstop sunny for ages. There in Australia you're talking about. Gonna get lunch, guys. Tia was robbed. Topic on the table, everyone. Tia was robbed. Now, I want to tell you something about that heat. I was doing an interview. I was super focused on a couple different things, and I only watched some of the highlights. I know it was a close heat. I don't know if she was robbed. Somebody else get in the comments and tell us if Tia was robbed. The one thing about Tyler that you have to remember is she's loose right now. She doesn't really care. She's coming in here and having fun. She's being coached by Dog Marsh, and she's a veteran of this type of situation, a right-hand point break. She's won Bells twice. She's come runner-up here before. She lost to Caroline, actually, in 2023. Someone correct me. No, I don't remember. And one of the times Caroline went back-to-back, she was a runner-up here. So she knows this wave. And she's good in the right point. I mean, that's what she basically served growing up. So, there you go. Let's see what we got here. Let's see. Going back in time, way back to some of the comments. Winds are high. Wait. Someone checking in. Casey from the Blue Mountains, if you're still there. Thanks for watching. Toledo has a similar thing at Pipeline, remember? Dude. I kind of want to get... My friend Alex is here. Maybe I get his take on that. Whoever was wearing that Master of Puppets shirt has great taste in music. Callie Chef. Hey, Alex, are you going to talk to us this morning?
Just interviewing you. Just
Hey.
some images for another.
Wait,
Your participation in my show. Second season, second participation.
tell us the name of the show again.
And Turno.
In Turno.
Yeah, like around the tour.
Around the Tour in Turno is a documentary. It's sort of like Make or Break, but it's the Brazilian version. And Alex, hold on, I should go wide. Here's Alex. Alex and I have been traveling together on the tour this year. Oh, look, the rain's come back. Alex and I have been traveling on the tour this year, and we've been to the last 5 events together, right? And I can tell you he's got a pretty good team of photographers, and he comes up with some great ideas, and many of which I steal. We have a joke that we steal each other's ideas, but he's come up with some great ideas and some great locations. And we just interviewed Freddie a few minutes ago, who's a water photographer, who had a shark encounter. So if you're from Brazil, you need to tune in to Enturno, because there's going to be some shark footage that you have to see to believe. Freddie loves swimming with the sharks. Am I right, dude? So anyway, I've got a big camera lens on my face right now. I'm a little nervous. I'm not sure what to do. I've never been on camera before.
And tell for a new audience how long you're doing that and what's your purpose in this job that you do.
Wait, what's
For
that?
your motivation and why you do that?
Oh wait, is this a real interview? Dude, I'm like going live at the same time as I'm being interviewed, and the last time I did an interview like this, it ended up in the documentary. So I'm not sure. I want to put on my best act and make sure I have a good pitch, but my thing is like, dude, this year compared to the last time I was on the documentary is I did one tour event. This year I'm doing a lot more tour events, and my goal is to eventually do most of the events on tour. I've done 5 this year. I'm gonna miss Rio. I'll be back for Trestles, and probably the end of the year. I've just booked Hawaii, which is a very difficult place to find accommodation. And I don't know how interesting this is to the live stream, which I'm doing right now, but I can tell you, like, it's been pretty neat to see the tour live, to see what happens on tour, to go through what the surfers go through as far as traveling, as far as figuring out your accommodation, and as far as the vibe that you get when you're actually around the surfers, the filmers, the coaches. You get a lot more of the feeling of it, and that's what I try to bring to the live stream. I try to let people know like what it feels like to be on tour, and I hope I just achieved that a little bit. You know? What questions do you have, Alex?
Okay. Guys, in Australia, at Bells, some guy asked me if I was the old surf daddy. I don't know if I look like him, but it was funny.
Dude, it is funny. Alex, there were people running around going, hey, you're old surf dad, man. I watch your channel. Thanks so much. Hold on, we have to do something here. Alex, hold on. Come here. So, this is me, and this is the Brazilian version of me who makes the documentaries. Is this old surf dad Brazil? Am I a documentarian from America?
The real contest for you. Nobody will know if it's me or you.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay?
So the Rio contest will be Alex. I will have a correspondent, by the way, in Rio. So, yeah, that's the plan, is I'll still have coverage. I'm not sure how much pre-event coverage I'm going to have. But, yeah, thanks, Alex. Alex and I, dude, his team's awesome, and Alex and I have been hanging. Here's Gabriella trying to come in. The struggle is real. So, hey, guys, you never know what's going to happen next on the live stream. I just got interviewed. Thanks, Andres. You're doing a great job. Appreciate that, man. Don't you love when weather looks like this and water is so warm? Dude, that is a nice feeling, man. It's like a bath. It's like, I heard somebody describe it as blood warm, which is kind of creepy, but is kind of accurate as well. Casey Talbot, thanks for joining. I appreciate your live stream, man. Great insights, and seeing the warm-up is great. Thank you. For those of you just joining, it looks like it's flat. I'm just in a weird spot because all the filmers were to my left, and I didn't want to block them. I do not think it's off today, JJ. I, in fact, think it's probably going to be on. I'm going to step back out so you guys can actually see the point. This is a crappy angle. It's just started raining again. So let me show you what I'm looking at. Okay, let's first stick with Molly. I can't zoom in because I've got my hands full. Oh, the post. Dude, the post was right in the way when she just hit that lip. But I can assure you she made it. I think you saw that. Damn, dude. Is it still raining? No. I think it's stopped. Nah, dang, dude. It's still raining. All right, tell you what. We're gonna back right into here. And you can kind of see more. Shit, hang on. Let me adjust the tripod while waves come through. There's a guy that's always in the live stream. His name's Shaky Day. Shaky, thanks for joining me, but that could also be the title of this video because I'm moving around and it's been freaking crazy trying to get the footage. Here comes somebody. No, kick out. All right, so we're still making a call. We're on hold. I have a feeling they're going to run, especially with waves like this. Here's Cali Voss. Let's see what he does with that. He hits it. Nice, man. Here we got Connor O'Leary. Wow, dude. Connor has been surfing on point. That was pretty sick. Look how glassy it is. For those of you who were in earlier, you got to get on the chat and tell everyone how much better this looks than it did in the morning. I've been on this stream for an hour. By the way, welcome if you're jumping in. I've been on the stream for an hour and it's way cleaner than it was when I first was here at sunrise. Damn, now we got some crazy rogue music, some reggae in the background. So yeah, did you get to the bottom of the Jack send in? Yeah, I talked about that earlier. Just a recap. You know, situations like that, you never know like what the backstory is, and the backstory, I believe, in that situation was that there was some pile rounds going on. There was some other drop-ins on Jack, and maybe Jack was like, dude, I guess I'm gonna finally go if you're gonna drop in on me. But at the same time, like, Jack didn't want any of that. And I talked to his filmer and he's like, dude, we didn't want that situation at all. And Jack just tried to talk to the guy. The guy was unreasonable, and he just went in. He's like, you know what? I don't need this energy. I think that was the right call. And for Jack to keep a cool head when he nearly got decapitated, I just want to make this clear again. It's never cool to shoot your board. Never cool to shoot your board, no matter the situation, you know? Talk about it. I don't know. Come in on the beach and throw haymakers and have a fight, but don't shoot your board at somebody. Anyway, that's my take. But there's also situations where a local surfer might like another surfer and potentially block. Who knows? I'm just speculating on things. Here's sets out the back. Meanwhile, on the inside, this looks really good. The inside we've got, looks to be Marco. Oh my goodness, Marco. Marco's got that straight air on lock. Outside, we've got a set. Yeah, Jack's trying to preserve his zen, Dave. Exactly. Like, I think there's a lesson in that for all of us. Like, dude, like, sometimes just, like, walk away, man. Like, let it go. Like, it's better for your own peace to not engage. Like, yeah, put the tennis racket down and walk off the court. You don't have to play. It's a game that's useless. What happened to the pumping surf forecast, Surfline? Samuel George, I agree with you. The surf this morning was ripped to shreds, was half the size of yesterday, but it's really come into its own in the last half hour. Surfline did predict it would be bigger, but now we're looking at pretty much the same, if not a tad bit smaller than yesterday. But it does look pretty damn good. It does look pretty good. Good morning, Mayu. Any news on Idolo? Mayu, we're waiting. I think that they're going to start the men's, and I think we'll see Idolo show up. I'm curious to see him surf. And by the way, Mayu, your boy Ramsey got his first win. I talked to him yesterday. He was super stoked. All the boys were gathered around from the dog pound. Dog Marsh was there, Connor was there, Leah was there. They're all just like laughing and hugging it out and like so stoked for Ramsey. The guy's got way too much talent not to be getting past some of these heats. I don't know if there's anyone who hits it more vertical or past vertical than Ramsey does. Love his surfing. Anyway, good to see it. Other people who won their first heats, Risa Hennessy got the monkey off her back. Bella Kenworthy as well. Annette Lelior had won one other heat in Bells, but she got past her heat in a big way, beating Steph, which brings up the upsets. Ethan Ewing, as we know, and Steph both going down to potentially the lulls. I mean, we had some major lulls yesterday. Get in the comments, tell me if your power surfer's still alive. I know a lot of you powered Ethan, man. And I actually thought my power surfer, who is Yago, was gonna lose that heat. I was a little worried. If Luke Thompson finishes clean on that last wave, Yago could have lost that heat. I knew that was a tough heat with Luke Thompson, who's surfing great. But Yago made it through, and there's a lot of other great matchups coming up. Let's see what else we got here. To what extent, wow, Jeremiah, let's talk about this one. To what extent are the judges bribed, and who precisely does the bribing and how much? Well, dude, that's a deep question. On level one, that's so good. On level one, no, there's no bribing going on. There's no handout payment type of thing happening here. Wow, did you see that? And I mean, having talked to the judges and several former judges, wow, this is Gabriel Medina. Let me save that take for a moment while we enjoy Gabriel Medina going to the air potentially, right when the post comes. Oh no! He's still going. Let's get back to that question. So my take is this. Judges on the surface level aren't bribed. I've talked to them. They love what they do. They want to get it right. They sometimes don't, but they're nerds in the fact that I'm a fantasy nerd. They're judging nerds. And there's a lot of decisions they make that are not easy, man. There were some heat scores yesterday I wouldn't have not wanted to be in the judges' tower. Having said that, I don't think there's a bribe, a cash pay. I don't think any of that's going on to that extent, but it could be. But I will say this. What do you guys think? There's a major sponsor with a major sticker on a board of a major surfer. Does that have influence? Does that have sway? Does a Rip Curl wild card get a little more leniency than a regular wild card? I don't know. You could debate that question. It's fun to talk about. I tell you who thinks that that's happening a lot is people who lose heats. It's the coaches who lose those heats. They're the first to go, oh, that was bullshit. There's a Red Bull sticker on their board. That was bullshit, you know? And like, yeah, I think that could be. But I also think that sometimes when you lose a heat, the judging is bullshit. And no more is that true than, you know, Brazilians are patriotic about their surfers, and there's never been a good score when they lose. And I get that. Like, it's like if you're a fan of one football team, whether it's football or whether it's American football, the referee's call is bullshit, you know? So, I don't know. That's my whack take. What do you think? Hold on, let's see. I want to hear real surf stories. Anthony, judging conspiracies are 100% bullshit. Any idea how many people on how many levels would have to be in on it? Thank you, Tony. I think my take was, is there influence in the back of their head? Here's the other one. does a crowd noise influence a judge's score when everybody yells? I think impact on waves, when somebody does an impactful turn, whether it be an air or a gouge or a really nice hit, and the crowd goes crazy, I think the judges should consider impact, but they also don't want to consider things that are false impact, that don't take as much skill as other things in the judging criteria. And I think, does that crowd noise influence them? Which would then spill over into, does who the person sponsored by influence them? I don't know. Does the level of that surfer, does their legend status influence them? Does their former performance influence their judging criteria? I mean, all of that is potentially true, but Tony, thanks so much, dude. I said this before and I'll say it again, like, I'm only as brilliant as the people that are around me that have, you know, a lot of information, and Tony's one of those guys. Thank you, Tony, for weighing in. You guys in the chat bring a lot to it, and I so appreciate that. Anyway, let's go back. Robo Judge, sorry, I guess. You have to respect the locals. That's the lesson. Number one surfing world, right or wrong, that's what it is. Dude, who is that? Gustavo. Thank you, Gustavo. I think that there's definitely, God, I'm trying to say this, and I don't know why I'm fumbling with it. The World Tour surfers have a lot of respect for the locals, and it's very rare that they'll burn people. You also have to realize that there's more to each story. There's so many surfers that want to surf with their favorite surfer, and there's also like dads pushing in their kids in front of famous surfers that are learning. It's so stupid to like get a wave with Kelly and all this kind of things. You hear these stories, and it's like, it's such a difficult situation for somebody that's trying to train for an event. But yeah, 100% respect the locals. And I can tell you, after filming here, and Tony, you could probably back me on this, I saw a lot of waves being ridden by locals. There's a handful of locals here that really know this break well. Melvin being one of them, who won the trials. The other kid that's a goofy footer that rides the airbrushed Terry Fitzgerald looking boards. There's the longboard guy that gets his. I mean, yeah. Let's go to, God, there's so many good comments here. If the judges blow it, they get fired. Facts. Dude, that's another thing we don't talk about. AI judges in the future. Dude, that's a possibility, man. I was going to run a take on that, but we'll save that for a minute. Ask Julian Wilson about judges. Oh, man. Let's keep going here. If the bom dia, welcome from Brazil, or if you're Brazilian in another country, because that is the situation. Everywhere we go, there's Brazilian fans. It's pretty crazy, the level of passion. I hate using that word. That's such a WSL word. The level of enthusiasm for Brazilian surfing, for the Brazilian surfers is crazy, dude. It's so good to see. Claiming gets you the score. Let's talk about claiming. Is a good claim an extra 0.33? Like, I don't know, man. I think I've seen everyone from, you know, Felipe to Rabo claim waves. It's facts. They claim them. Does it help the score? I don't know. I think you're trying to influence a judge like, yeah, I got the score, especially at the end of a heat. You're like, yeah, dude, I made that. I got the score. That was definitely the 6 I needed, you know? Like, let me say it the opposite way. If you like finish the wave and like put your head down, you're like telling the judges, yeah, I don't think I got it. And the judges are gonna agree with you. But if you come out of that with enthusiasm and go, hell yeah, I don't know, there's something about that. That's that subtle influence I'm talking about. Now the comments are lighting up. Oh, I think I gotta get off soon.
están aquí esperando
Why does surf
atentamente a lo que
is the
pasa
only
con el
sport where the
llamado
judges are not
informado
named,
que
would be
el evento
impossible
va
to
a
judge
seguir on
individual.
hold. El próximo llamado
So,
va a ser
sorry,
a las
guys, I'm
8:30
gaga.
de la mañana para un posible comienzo a las 9:05.
Oh, so it sounds like
Estamos
8
esperando
o'clock.
a que las condiciones mejoren y estén óptimas.
Maybe we're on hold for more.
Al clima y también a las olas, al viento, a las mareas para poder lanzar el evento. Así que por
So I'm hearing this in
ahora vamos a
Spanish,
seguir on hold
and I hear more
y
holds.
regresaremos con más información a las 8:30 de la mañana. Back with more information for
At
the event
8:30 it
on the
sounds
second
like.
day of the Surf City El Salvador, pero the event
Hold on.
is on hold. Our next call will be at 8:30 a.m. for a possible 9:05 a.m. start. We'll be back with more information at 8:30. For now, waiting on the conditions to improve to keep surfing on this second day of the cup. That's it.
So there you go. We have an 8:30 call for a 9 start potentially. Am I going to stay on here and talk for that long? Well, as long as you guys keep coming up with solid takes, dude. I'm going to keep reading them off here, and we'll just watch waves together. Judging is biased on smaller events level for sure. Been a judge, been a surfer and a judge. I hear a lot of bullshit, especially in small local events, and I can tell you definitely there's influence on who you surf for and which surf shop you surf for and who's judging, and it basically comes down to money and power in some of those events. I can think of specific examples, and I want to call them out, but I'm gonna reserve on that one. But I'm gonna tell you that in several different countries outside and inside the U.S., let's just throw a name out there. Rip Curl might have a team that has people who own the franchise of Rip Curl in that particular country, and funny, those surfers tend to win those events. I mean, this happens, and it may not even be Rip Curl. It could be Billabong, could be a lot of different places. So I think that is definitely true. Let's see what else. I'm trying to catch up to these comments. Where am I? There are some really... and I like this one where he's talking about the judges are named. The judges are named. I think they're not featured because they get a lot of hate mail, but we know who the judges are. We know that Luli is the head judge, and Luli's been pretty open with me and willing to talk about judging and results. And those guys talk to the coaches and the surfers. Like if there's an unfair, what they think is an unfair call, they'll tell them why. They'll say, hey, this is what we thought about that wave. Sorry, I'm like trying to do 3 things at once here. Shit. So yeah, I think that happens. No one likes to be told how to do your job. Certain demanding score type claims will be deduct a point for sure. Dude, so Tony's going the opposite direction with the claim, and I love that. I think Tony's take is, if not, it should be taken off as a point. Maybe it does deduct a point because claiming is telling the judge what their job is. Dude, I didn't even think of it that way. I love that perspective. It's like, is that telling the judge, hey dude, I got it. If you don't give me the score, you don't know what you're doing. And that's, dude, I think all of it plays in. Like, dude, somebody ripping this one. Let's go in for a closer look. Looks like Cali Voss. Dude, I'm a little worried about my Felipe pick. I've been back in Cali all year because I think he's the real deal. Speaking of, first heat, if it happens, 8:30 is, we're on hold till 8:30 for a potential 9 start, Sammy Pupo. I'll tell you what's more interesting than looking at the surf is these comments, dude. I cannot get enough of this. I'm missing a lot of them, I'm sorry. El Sal breakfast for old mate. I love claiming feels good when you feel good. HH Bonus isn't afraid to claim. I think Yeah, and there's different types of claims. You also like, if you get a sick 10-point ride and you come out of it and you show some enthusiasm, I think there's different types of claiming. I can see that too. What time is it there now? Dude, my phone is all jammed up with a live stream, so I actually don't know. Best pre-serve performances, D. I'm calling George, Sammy, and Marco. Wow. Dude, you know what's funny is, so Tony and I, Real Surf Stories, have been down here. We're both YouTube channels. We've been down here shooting a lot of the free surfs. By the way, I still have one more free surf session I have not posted. That is the secret session coming soon when we get some lay days. I don't know about you, Tony, but I'm like absolutely torched from staying up all night and editing and doing all that. But Tony has just thrown out his favorite free surfers. And my point was that I think we've shot at different times. George, Sammy, and Marco are his call. And I didn't see a lot of George. I didn't get that impact. I think my free surfer favorites, Marco would probably be in there. I think for me, Al Cleland, just because he got the bigger waves and the bigger power carves. Who else stood out to me? God, I'm missing somebody. I was gonna say Joel Vaughn, but there's people who had spectacular moments that fell a lot, and that's what training's all about. I would also say on the women's side, I couldn't get it. I couldn't say more about Gabrielle O'Brien just throwing buckets of spray. Sometimes it's on the verge of not being pretty, and sometimes it's on the verge of being repetitive, but the judges are liking that. And I think as far as a impact, we talked about that word, impactful. She was definitely that. I really liked, and I can't believe I didn't pick her on my fantasy team, I thought Betty Lou surfed great. I thought Betty Lou really stood out. And a lot of you asked me about Betty Lou and Tia, and I'm gonna talk about that real quick. Here's getting real topic. So on one of my videos, Betty Lou clearly drops in on Tia, goes straight down to the bottom turns and smacks the lip in front of her, and Tia just jumped off. And here's the deal. Am I gonna say this? Yeah, I'm gonna say this. So a lot of times I told you there's two sides to a story. And as I'm saying this, Jack is flying down the line. So what was happening, I heard, and I actually saw, was that Tia's dad was going out, and I love them. But I think Tia's dad was going out, and he was sitting inside, and both of them were waiting for waves. And if a wave came to Tia's dad, he was gonna go, and then he'd wait, and he'd back off and let Tia go. So is he holding a line in the queue? Last night, I was at the grocery store here in El Salvador, the Super Selectos, and it's a classic move where people hold a spot in line and then show up with a shit ton of groceries. So I think Betty Lou had enough of that shit, and she said, you know what, I'm going. It's my turn. Can't do this like 2-for-1 deal. So again, there's always a story behind the story. What do you guys think about that? And I can tell you that I tried to find, some people were piling on Betty Lou saying, yeah, also, she talked some smack about the veterans. Can somebody tell me what the source was? I have yet to find it online. I've yet to see where Betty Lou, I'm sure she probably said something about taking on the veterans. You know, I like her confidence. I like that she's, you know, a little trash talk. Dude, the WSL could use not a little trash talk, a lot more trash talk, a lot more rivalries, not these huggy fake rivalries, dude. I want a couple people to mix it up, but I want to know the source of Betty Lou's comment. I can't find it online. I tried to find it. If anyone knows, let me know. All right, there you go. That's my take. Your take better than the booth. Thank you. Anyway, yeah, that's crazy to have your dad block for you. Jack had a Barney with a Loco. I know, dude. Ethan Ewing and Sawyer Lindblad. Yeah, people have asked me if Ethan and Sawyer are still together. They are. How was Hanneman's heat? Dude, let's talk about Eli wrecked a lot of fantasy teams. I can't imagine a fantasy team. 90% of them probably had Brian Perez after watching. By the way, Tony, another free surf standout was Brian Perez. Absolutely. But Brian Perez had a heat with Eli, and Eli somehow found his magic. Another person that I believe got the first win of the year. Dude, that alley-oop he did, that thing was pretty squeaky clean. And Brian, from that moment on, was on his back foot trying to catch up. And unfortunately, the waves didn't come because Brian could have easily caught up. But he just couldn't find the waves. I think a lot of yesterday's upsets were due to Mother Nature, were due to lulls, were due to, I could also, say bad positioning and bad strategy or wave choice, but it was dynamic, let's say, yesterday, for sure. Different. You know what? My glasses are all fogged up. I can't read the comments. Hang on. Dude, I've been on an hour and a half. Are you kidding? All right. Let's see what we got. So many comments. I probably missed your comment. You probably spent some time writing a cool comment and I went right by it. I'm so sorry. There's so many great topics on the table about judging, about claiming, about best free surf performances. It's all there. They should just surf as many waves as possible and judge them both for what's 30 minutes. Shoot, that comment skipped to the top after I get all these other ones. So they used to do a similar situation where it wasn't the best two waves. Back in the, and Tony could probably help me on this, back in the ASP days, I believe it was 4 waves. I believe they also limited waves. They also had, you could see the priority buoy way the hell out there somewhere. They had to paddle around the priority buoy so they didn't get too many waves. And it's just been a long time, a long evolution of the format that we're currently in. And I have to say, I kind of like it. If you think it can be improved, I always like to hear those ideas. But I sort of like the 2-wave heat score type of strategy because then it becomes a lot of math and a lot of, I think when you talk about in terms of how was that wave, I think that makes it a little easier to break down. What happened with Jack? If you haven't seen it, Google, Jack Robinson, local El Salvador, and you'll see the clip. Local shot his board at Jack after Jack took off on him. But as I was saying, it could be more of that story. Was in the Red Bull. Hold on. Oh, by the way, speaking of Red Bull, I was going to talk about their drug testing yesterday, just so you guys know. There is definitely drug testing going on. I've heard a lot of different stories of how they show up randomly at different times or they call you right before. And yesterday they were actually doing it on site. I think a lot of times drug testing is not done on site, but they had an anti-doping little office set up where they were grabbing the surfers after the interviews. I interviewed a couple of surfers and then, there's somebody standing there with a clipboard going, all right, time to pee in a cup. And so drug testing is happening, drug testing is real, and they are testing for all the things. I don't think you can even burn weed. And yeah, there's a topic on the table. Should you be able to take a gummy? I want to tell you, I don't do drugs, but I'm also like open. Like I think it's okay for people to be able to recreational use drugs if they're not like having a problem with it. But should surfers be able to smoke a little weed? I definitely don't think they should be on any kind of performance enhancing stuff, but I don't know. Is cocaine banned? I can tell you what's not banned is Red Bull. Red Bull, and there's another topic, like, is the poison that is in these drinks, should that be banned? So many topics. All right, let me try to catch up as I run whack takes. Yeah, man. There's definitely some Irie comments coming. Go Brazil. Brazilian Storm, you can cry. Oh man, we're gonna get the cries. I don't want the cry stuff, man. Here comes the fork and knives, the pukey face. Hey, look, I call it like I see it, and the Brazilian Storm's in the top 4. What else are you gonna say about that? Now, Miguel Pupo did lose yesterday to Eli Hanneman, which, to be honest, surprised me. Miguel's been surfing pretty well. It seems like he's finally like come into his own after 14 years on tour. But yeah, and the Brazilian Storm is not dead, and it's from all appearances not going anywhere. No one can really challenge him at the moment. God, I'm in a little bit of. They should test the judges. Dude, that is facts. You know what? That's fair enough, man. As I was saying, Betty Lou, one of my standouts. Here she is. Let's see if I can back it. She kind of got a long runner. She kicks out. These are some of those swing wides. And while the swing wides look pretty and looks like a good old man mid-length wave I want to ride, they don't necessarily have the scoring potential of the sets that kind of are not the biggest like these are. And you notice Brian Perez was getting more of the medium-sized waves because I think those are the ones that connect. Those are the ones that have multiple turn opportunities. Damn, Jack just did a layback. Fell right on the drop wallet. He fell on the wallet. Here's a long, look at this one, dude. Nobody on it. I think that's a set no one expected because it's pretty much just gone unridden. And then here's that wide section. You see it's got that little piece there that I think with a better, perhaps, direction, and maybe a local or Tony, you can tell me, like with a better direction, I think you get the tube out here, and then you get this second tube over here where the, dude, my battery's low, where you can get a double tube opportunity into the turns. Shoot, the comment's going off, my battery's going dead. I was gonna say, hey, it's time to get off here. But maybe I'll plug a battery in, or let's just take it to its death. The WSL wall of positive noise must be toppled. The time to bring back, dude, I'm sorry, commenters willing to, yeah, you know what? God, what do you guys think about the comments? I want to back that. I want to totally back that. And I would say this. The other day, when they first started that warm-up session where everyone wears the whack, like green, orange jerseys and short sleeve things, like, dude, there weren't any comments on that for like 2 hours. I'm like thinking, man, I would love to go and comment on that and like talk trash. And I would want the comment section on because the WSL, I think, is missing an opportunity to, especially in a session like that, engage with the fans. Dude, it feels like the wall of positive noise is also a wall between themselves and their fans. Has anyone ever sent an email to the WSL? Yeah, what happens? It goes behind the wall of positive noise and you never get a response. There seems to be no two-way conversation with the WSL, and I feel like, God, I'm talking a lot of trash today, man. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this up as a live stream. People can go back and watch it, but it's also positive criticism in the sense of like, dude, I want this to work for them. They do a lot of good things. I want pro surfing to work out, but when you create a barrier between yourself and your fans, it's not a good thing. And I think, hell, bring back the comments. Yeah, there was a lot of distracting comedy going on. Some of it was super funny. Who was the guy? Somebody can remind me of the guy's name. I'll think of it in a second. But sometimes it would just degenerate into, I don't know, whack takes. I would love for the comments to be those comments that are surfing analysts, surfing analysis, as well as people taking the piss and having fun. But sometimes it was too much taking the piss and it was hard to read. But yeah, dude, what the hell? Bring back the comments, or there's a way to moderate the comments. There should be somebody moderating it. And when it gets stupid, you know, I don't know, clip the comment. It's not hard to do. I can do it. I usually don't even care. Like, say what you want, go for it. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, Chicken Joe, dude. The DSC, you got it. Thank you. Dude, there's some shit Chicken Joe said that I would be crying laughing. And there was also some things that would happen on there. I was like, all right, like kind of over it, you know? But I don't know. I'll back it. Bring back the comments. Jeremiah, I like your outspoken takes here. Barton Lynch is the thinking man's commentator, hence the WSL dropped him. Yeah, I think there's a couple things going on. And I also think that, you know, Barton Lynch doesn't need that shit, man. Barton Lynch, I mean, I understand and feel what he's talking about. He doesn't want to be constrained. He wants to be able to talk freely and run his takes. And if anyone has takes, it's Barton Lynch, who spent years surfing on the Pro Tour, who's seen it from every different angle, who grew up with it, who's now involved in it, and by the way, former champion. I believe 1988, I want to say. Dude is a world champion, okay? I don't know, like, there's a lot of credit there. Same with Martin Potter, although, you know, Martin was controversial too, so what are you gonna do? Let's do Real Surf Stories. I agree with this take. I didn't see, Tony, I always love your takes. The football style fans spamming ruined it for everyone. Yeah, see, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, put a moderator in there and just clip those comments and have a bit of analysis and a bit of fun, and you're onto something. I mean, sometimes the WSL, I think, shoots themselves in the foot, or as my friend Matt Warshaw says, steps on their own dick, and I think they prevent a wider audience. There's people who just go surfing and that's cool, but there's people like in that middle ground where they love surfing, but they hate the bullshit that goes on with pro surfing, and I think there's some openness that could bring some of those people in to enjoy what is a pretty fun thing to watch. Like yesterday, pretty enjoyable. Snapper, pretty damn cool. Finals day in New Zealand, a lot of fun. Anyway, let's see what we got. The ridiculous exaggerating of the commentators must end. Dude, I think there's two things with the commentators, and they're doing the best they can. It's way better than it used to be, but running the same tired take is, and it's got to be hard. I mean, they sit in the booth for 12 hours, dude. So that's got to be a difficult challenge. But the other thing is to sit there and look at the surf and go, oh man, it's pumping. and it's 2 feet, like I have eyes, you have eyes, we know what the truth is. Once in a while, they're starting to go, you know what, it's pretty average out there. And I see the other side of that, which is, that was Luana that just surfed by the way. And this is Jack. Let's watch this. Little hit. I see the other reason is like viewership. By the way, Sammy, digging in hard. Nice wave. Viewership, like, oh yeah, the waves are pretty average, it kind of sucks out there. But your hardcore viewership that you develop over time, it's not gonna give a shit. They're gonna watch it. If they're fans, you know, it doesn't matter if it's raining on the football field, you still wanna watch football. And I think you got to lean into it, you got to embrace it. But yeah, wall of positive noise. Dude, so much good shit going on. Ever working for the WSL is, oh, this must be, yeah, I think Dave brings up, and God, there's probably a ton of great comments I'm missing. I'm just reading what's popping up and I'm trying to scroll back, but the comments keep going. But Dave says you should have served to work in the WSL or been a pro, and I back that, especially if you're in the booth. And I like that from what I heard yesterday of, is it Tanner? Yeah, it's Tanner Gonzalez. I can't even say the name. Tanner, I thought had some pretty good perspective yesterday. While I think he buttered both sides of the toast. He gave the fans what they wanted, and he also like came in with some positive energy. And positive energy is different from positive noise. You know what I mean? Like, and I think Vaughn Blakey does a good job of that. He's edgy, but he's also like the most stoked Grom with a microphone in his hand. Like if you meet him in person, not only is he taller than you think, but he's more into surfing than you think, and he comes off as into surfing. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of energy we want. But you're gonna have all types of commenters, and the commentary team, just in any sport, some of them you're just not gonna like, while other people think, oh yeah, that guy's okay. God, Sammy on another one. Let's go in for a close-up. Look at this. Nice. And he's coming into a little section here. Oh, I thought he was gonna do the rebound. Love me a rebound, by the way. Figure 8 rebounds. Bring them back. I'm gonna eventually run out of battery. If I plug in my external battery, we're gonna have shitty sound. What do you guys think? Should I just end it here and say, damn, that was fun? Come on, dude, what do you know about ELO in Rio? Dude, I wish I knew, like, I don't know how that story got like put in a like metal case, padlocked and buried in a time capsule. Somebody knows something, and I have not been able to find out. Tony, what do you know? I've asked around and I just kind of gave up. And dude, if Sam McIntosh from Stab doesn't know that story, or he does know it and he's not telling, I don't know. Like, we may never know what happened to ELO. We all do know that there was something inappropriate with a surfer. Don't know if it's male or female, and it was probably under the influence. That's the only sort of rumor that I've heard. Hold on, I want to ask Alex. Alex was on earlier with me. Alex is the Brazilian old surf dad. Dude, by the way, thank you everyone for joining. Also, these are the most all-time comments. This is the most fun I've had talking about surfing in a long time. Alex, somebody in the comments just said, what the hell happened to ELO in Brazil when he got fired in Rio? Eric Logan. Do you know anything? How has that story been buried this long? We're getting into the deep now. Do you know anything? Dude, he's shaking his head. Do you know and you're not telling? Because that's cool too. I will force it out of you later, but on live air, is there anything you know about that? I talked about he did some inappropriate things to a male or female surfer. We don't know who that was. And he was possibly drunk or on the influence of something. That's all I know. Do you know any more than that?
I never heard of anything about it.
I think you guys, judging by the look on his face, he didn't even know that part.
Yeah.
So that's as best as I can dig. And again, that's all.
Sorry.
I think I just shocked Alex. And dude, again, everything I just said there is rumor, speculation, unconfirmed, just what I've heard, you know? And you could have read that on the internet if you wanted to. Forecast for next couple of days. Yeah, let's get back to this event. Let's get the story. Yeah, let's get the story. I live under a rock. So yeah, Eric Logan, former CEO, was fired from the WSL. Probably best thing that ever happened to the league. And now Ryan Crosby's taken over, and I feel like there's been some improvements made. But let's talk about the forecast here. So the idea was they downgraded this morning, I saw on Surfline. They're calling it possible 6 to 8 instead of 8 to 10 as it was yesterday. It's meant to be clean this morning, and we're finally seeing it clean up. And then the next few days, they have said that, here's Sammy again. Damn, dude. He's surfing against Joel Vaughn. That's going to be a cracking heat. So eventually we're going to get onshore stormy conditions, allegedly. Each day we say that and it's off, and I keep saying that, and then the storm never comes. The storm never appears. The storm doesn't develop, and it sits up north and down south. And so there's plenty of swell coming no matter what happens. There is a huge swell coming, and you're going to see clips from all up and down the West Coast, from Mexico to California and beyond. But yeah, that's the forecast I know. They will probably run heats here after this call, and I'll eventually jump off. Like, look at now compared to earlier in this stream. That is one glassy, clean face with the potential to rip apart 2 or 3 turns going through that section right there. There's a little section there. Hit it if you dare. And so that's the forecast. Let me jump back into these comments, because that's my first trip to the North Shore. Oh shoot, I can't read that. Dude, no way. Phototron, my first trip to the North Shore, 87-88 winter, Barton Lynch wins the world title. And if you want the conditions, if you want the story of what happened, that's where you go to Tony's site. Tony Real Surf Stories breaks down a lot of the world title history, and I love that, man. If you're still out there, Tony, shout out. Dude, we better meet. We've met online, but not IRL, as the kids say. So get down here and shake my hand. In fact, dude, will you please come down, and while I have like 10 minutes left on the live stream, and live stream with me? Like, how epic would that be? Maybe I'll get Tony on one of these. Elo was there, was the previous CEO. Yeah, to fill in the gaps. Yeah, Elo was the previous CEO, if I'm not. Yeah, so Elo was the previous CEO. He was brought in to champion a surf league, having the experience of a television producer for Oprah. And so he came in with sort of an entertainment style angle and had a lot of ideas that weren't necessarily in the best interest of our beloved sport of surfing. And he tried to change and make it a Super Bowl, a playoff system, and a lot of things that we're now unwinding and unraveling because they tried to turn it into, some kind of reality show in sport. And they actually had a reality show called Make or Break, which I can tell you I enjoyed. And Alex from Brazil, who we talked to a moment ago, who was on earlier, he's making a similar version, a backstage documentary that plays in Brazil. That's pretty cool. So anyway, I hope that fills in the gaps and gives you some context. Griff does look very good on this wave. Only single fins. Thanks for that comment. And yeah, Griff does look great. When I watched his free surfs, and I only saw him out 2 times, and maybe, Tony, you can fill in your free surf wisdom on Griff. The 2 times I saw him, he fell quite a bit, but he's testing some equipment and he's testing some maneuvers. But he was doing the big 3. He was getting little tubes. He didn't get a lot, but he was doing his signature rail carves, which are pretty nice. Maybe not as powerful as some of the others, but they're definitely solid. And he's got air game to match. I would also say that he does some old school fundamental rail surfing that I absolutely love. And I was talking about that figure 8 a minute ago. I think Griff does that really well. Dude, I am like gonna lose my voice. Let's see what else. Shot Bruleka. Welcome, Salty. Thanks for showing up, man. Tell everyone to listen to Surfers Journal podcast next Tuesday, Jamie's Soundings. I'm reading that because I'm a fan of Jamie and I enjoy his podcast, and he's a heck of a nice dude. I've met him at the board, I wanted to call it the board writer show. It's not, it's the boardroom show. My buddy Scott Bass runs that, and Bassy puts on a great trade show. Dude, I love that. I'm gonna just go on a rant here for 1 second about it. I met Jamie at the boardroom show where you can pretty much meet all your heroes. Last year I got a picture, check this out, with Christian Fletcher and Jerry Lopez. You're talking about a mix of 2 different eras, but there's all kinds of people walking around. They're shaping boards in the middle of the thing in a plexiglass box. If you live in California and it's October, there's no reason why you're not in Del Mar at the boardroom show. All right, anyway, yeah, Jamie's Soundings. Just giving plugs to everyone. The no second chance opening heat kind of sucks. Let's talk about the no second chance head-to-head single elimination heats. I'm mixed on it, to be honest. I think those who are new, those who are at the lower end of the rankings, yeah, they should have to battle for it. Do I think it's cold, harsh, and you see a lot of people spending a lot of money getting a 30-minute heat and going to the next event? Yeah, and I think that's going to be financially, maybe even financially destructive to the lower end surfers who may not even have the sponsorship dollars to make it. Like, these guys aren't making a ton of money except for the top 5. Like, yeah, Gabriel Medina and his 12 million followers, he's going to be fine. But the rest of the crew, especially on the lower end, like, dude, it costs money. And yes, they do get paid for showing up, losing a heat, and moving on. You know, let's say it's 10 grand. I can't remember the exact number. Well, when you split that, when you take 40% for taxes, you give 20% to your coach, or 15%, whatever it is that you're paying your coach. You got to pay your filmer. Dude, you're breaking even barely on just that money, and then you got to get airplane tickets and all the things. And this is what I kind of learned traveling around the circuit. Now look, there's not a bucket here with tears in it for them because they're living a dream life. And I think at the same time, like, that one single elimination heat. There's a better way to do that. I'm waiting. Mateus laid out a strategy that I liked, and I want to talk to a couple people before I present that in a video. I might be talking about that more. Let's see what else we got. Oh, dude, you're on his podcast Tuesday. I'm for a second chance. Yeah. Aaron's diva. Wait. I want to read this. Jeez. Aaron's a diva, but she's not at Riss's level. Interesting. I don't know where to take that take. I will say this about Aaron. I felt bad for her in the heat with Yo yesterday. She lost, but she had been like on an IV drip, and I found out about it at the last minute. I heard some people whispering about the fact that Aaron was sick and she might not show up, but good on her for showing up. Salty Loda looks like a longer version of Victoria. And what's happened to the space cadet? Dude, Jeremiah. What's happened to the space cadet Katie Simmers? I'm reading a comment. I'm not saying that. I'm reading this comment. And by the way, if you're watching this in the rebroadcast, I'm reading a lot of the comments. These aren't necessarily my ideas, but let's talk about Katie Simmers. Sure. Katie Simmers in New Zealand had a lull, got a 3.67, was my power surfer, and I was pissed. But I also understood some of that was Mother Nature. Katie, after she loses a heat, or if she wins a heat, she's like, you want to see her get excited or get bummed, and she's just not that person, dude. She's just takes it in stride, couldn't be bothered, moves on to the next thing, She's in the shop buying thrift clothes, right after, or hanging out with her friends, having a chat, I think she's competitive for sure, but I also think her reaction to it is different. And that difference, that I hate to, everyone talks about how she's Dane Reynolds. She's not Dane Reynolds, but she is in the sense of her overwhelming talent and style, but they're different people in their reactions. She may probably be more competitive than Dane. Dane admits he's I couldn't be bothered, but hey, dude, this guy just walked by. His name's Pato. I can't believe I'm seeing this guy. He's a Brazilian big wave charger. And at Jaws many years ago, he literally saved my life when I was on the back of a jet ski. I'm going to try to round him up and see if he even remembers it, man. I was sitting on a jet ski that had died with my camera gear, and a set was coming at Jaws. And the guy who was driving my ski had been used to a Yamaha and not a Honda, and it's a different way that you have to start it. You have to hold the thing in, and I forget, you push a button or turn the key, whatever it was, and he didn't know how to do it. And the set was about to roll us, and Pato came in and threw him off the jet ski, or threw him in the back and started it up and drove us out of there. Anyway, wow, random thoughts. So back to Katie. But tell me what you think. I see Katie live. I love Katie surfing. Can't get enough of it. But the real question is she better off being a free surfer? Are there free surfers on this tour that would be better off having a camera crew follow them and make edits a la Nathan Florence and now John Florence? Could we potentially have the best two surfers on the planet, Katie and John, doing a world tour? And how entertaining is it? Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, I do not want John Florence back on tour. I'm having way too much fun watching Vela. There's probably been 1,000 comments since I've started my filibuster. I'm sorry for that. Elo's a criminal. He robbed 2 titles from Carissa. Lucas, I actually agree with that take. And I think the WSL should buy a couple of trophies and present them to her and say, hey, this is the trophy for the overall points, and Caroline can keep her trophy for the playoff win. That'd be fair to me. Who's Elo? Elo is Eric Logan, by the way, former CEO, controversial figure, and called criminal in this stream. What happened to Erin? Erin got sick. I think she either ate bad food, got heat stroke, and dehydrated, or both. And it's easy for that to happen here in El Salvador. But you got to be careful, dude. You can't brush your teeth with a water. Have a bottle of water. You can't go to every restaurant you see. You got to ask around. You got to go somewhere safe. Ask people who live here, where they eat or where to eat, Anyway, let's read some more comments. We got comments with emojis. I love it all. Creativity, then deal with it. I think he's talking about creativity is another nonsense term used by commentators. I just used it, and I will say, here goes yo. I think Katie's approach is definitely different. And there's other words you could use, but yeah, she is creative. I know it's overused. It's one of the things that drives me crazy, and when I find myself overusing words when I'm on a 2-hour stream, I get bummed out. I get bummed out at myself. Alex, how long have I been on? Oh, wait.
Next call, 8:30.
What time is it? My phone is hooked up to this live stream, and I don't know what time it is.
1 more hour.
Oh, it's only 7:24. How'd you go?
Who would say? I got some good ones.
It's getting better, huh?
Like bowling, kind of like Haleiwa.
Yeah. Dude, I like that. Water photographer Humansine just came in, and he said he got a few good shots. Reminded him of Haleiwa on that one bowl section, which is a pretty big claim. I'm a huge fan of Haleiwa. Love that wave for shooting and for surfing. For shooting because it's so close to the beach, and for surfing. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna plug in my battery if you guys want to keep streaming. If there's gonna be 360 people in here, welcome everybody from all over the world. I'm gonna keep streaming. What the hell? Let's see what happens. Let me put in my battery. Hang on.